We're here. We're flipped. We're on the other side of it now. We're on the other side of the intro screen, dog. They can hear and see you now. Fuck. No, you're good. Look at you, man. You look amazing with that long fucking hair going on. That's like a year and a half worth of hair, right?
Exactly.
Because the last time I saw you, you didn't have it going on like that.
Oh no, I had the military buzz, I think, the last time.
That's impressive. I'm gonna let you a year and a half worth to get it past your shoulders.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been growing this mustache my whole life. My whole life, and this is what it is.
It is what it is. That's a good way of thinking about it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wired and Wednesday on my motherfucking Twitch channel. Today, we got a friend of mine, very interesting human being, actually. My friend Nick. Nick, welcome to the stream. Nick the manager. I put it underneath you. It says Nick the manager.
Okay.
Because that's your handle. That's where you find a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now people know. For the people that are new to the stream, I will continue to remind you throughout what we're doing here. But every Wednesday we give away a pair of headphones. So if you are subbed to us, you just hit that little subscribe button to a player. And then hit !raffle. You enter yourself into a raffle to win a pair of Astro A10 headphones. Shout out to Astro headphones and Blue Microphones for sponsoring these little streams. We're big fans, and you know, we're glad that we can hook you guys up every week with some shit. That being said, Nick, how the fuck are you? Cheers.
Oh yeah, cheers, man. Appreciate you having me on. We haven't cheersed in a year and a half, so this is awesome.
Last time I saw you, we were getting drunk at your uncle's house on his boat.
Yeah. that almost doesn't seem real.
Drinking Costco scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that story, I think about it sometimes. It doesn't feel real. I mean, we were out in Hawaii. So you had the show. And then for those who don't know, my family's from Hawaii and they live in Hawaii. So I usually try to go back once a year. And so I was going to be there July 4th week. And then I saw you posting that you had a show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hell yeah. So, I hit you guys up. We got Oren, my artist, to open for you. And then we just kicked it all week in Hawaii, drinking with Uncle Ben and, fighting the sea monsters. And
oh my God, I forgot about it. Until this very moment. I was like, sea monsters. And I was like, oh, fuck me. Yeah, a moray eel, right?
Right. Yeah. So in Hawaii, my uncle, he's got a house by the water, and one of the favorite activities is you guys get drinks and you go walk into the water with flashlights and nets and try and catch little fish and shit. And we stumbled across a moray eel that was just chilling by the dock, and Oren had to maneuver around the moray and get back to shore safely without freaking out. But yeah, that was terrifying. I'm glad you didn't get bit. We would have lost a national treasure there.
That would suck. I mean, I guess I'd rather die by getting bit by an eel than getting the gout or something like that. Right. I don't know if you can die from gout, but I don't want to die from it. Yeah, there's worse ways of going. So I'd rather die drunk in the ocean, bit by an eel, than slip on or choke on a chicken bone or something alone in my house. And then my cats eat me, just nobody can identify my body because there's no one that loves me enough to even come and check in on me, there's worse ways, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. And then, we went snorkeling in Hama Bay, and yeah, man, it's just so weird that, we met each other here at my studio, and then it kind of turned into that friendship, and then we were able to just hang out, and now here we are a year and a half later after that on your awesome channel. So
a digital hang.
I wanted to ask you about it, man. You pivoted really well with the pandemic and not doing tours, and so how did this start, this Wired and Wednesday?
Well, it started out like a lot of different things with the Twitch channel, because we've been Sarah, shout outs to Sarah Dope. I see her in the chat. You lovely ass Sarah. Yeah. She used to work for Rhymesayers, and she was always pushing Twitch on us, and I was doing a lot of like stuff to try to get like mod friendly Twitch streams and stuff like that. And not a lot of people were like biting. Like not a lot of people were taking to it on the label, and I was like, I'll do it. And of course, at that time, I had 2 managers, and both of them are fucking nerds. Shout out to Colin, who's here and is one of those fucking nerds. So they were super pumped on the idea, and I had no idea what it was. I had an Xbox because I got it as a bonus for selling a venue out. So I like had an Xbox. I was like, all right, we'll play some fucking video games. And I got into it, but I suck at video games. So after a while, I kind of felt like I was poaching on this platform because, you know, like I had a bit of a name for myself and I was able to like get followers pretty quick on Twitch, but I wasn't like, I sucked at video games, and it was just me getting drunk, like getting my ass whooped at Call of Duty. And it was like cool and everything, but still I felt like I was kind of, you know, I had imposter syndrome going on. And so I kind of dipped away from the platform for a while. And I had discussed multiple times throughout the years about doing kind of like a collaborative stream where I open up like a Dropbox or a Google Drive link and I drop some session stems of something that I'm working on. And that way, you know, I put the tempo and everything, and then people can make this with me. So I'll be like, here is a piano line with like some, you know, some harmonic overtones, and then who's got a bass line, who's got kicks or snares, or who just wants to record themselves going, into their phone or whatever, you know, and I like, we'll sample it and make it work and just like make it like an exercise more than, you know, we're out here making fucking smackers every time. And so that was where it started with the Twitch channel. Okay. So like when we got back from, or when everything got shut down and you know, I had to cancel that tour that we were on, we knew that we were going to start Twitch because we didn't know what else to do, and everybody was doing this live streaming shit, but they were like doing concerts, and I was like, look, you get to do that once. Right, you got to do one live stream concert, and even then, it kind of lacks the importance or the impact of an actual concert because, first of all, impact, like you're not feeling the sound system or like
the sound waves hitting.
Yeah, and the lights and all the shit. Like, so we humored it. We were like, maybe we'll do one. We ended up kind of passing on all that, and then I was like, man, you know what I miss the most? Like, just like going to the bar, like meeting up with a friend at the end of the day and be like, let's get a cocktail and shoot the shit. And so every Monday we do like a cocktail stream where I just link up with my dude and we make a cocktail here on stream and we just shoot the shit. And it went really well. And it took a while to line up the music stream because there's just a lot that had to go into it to make it a thing. We did it for a couple weeks once we did get it rolling, and it just turned into like a bunch of rappers going, oh, hold up real quick, I got like 24 bars. I got 24 bars for this. And I'm like, hey, we're actually not taking vocals. And he's like, hey, no, hold up real quick, though. I'm going to rap on this. And is it cool if I put it on my pay? I'm going to put it on my SoundCloud. And you're like, no, wait, stop. This is like I just want to like make music in the moment. And this is like it's just a piano loop right now. Like we don't even have anything to this. And so it turned into just like a lot of people like almost trying to get on in this like weird way. And it immediately turned off to me. So then it just turned into me making music, and eventually people would like chime in and be like, can I play a bass line? And I'm like, yes, yes, you can. But then I had a kid, and I don't have time for music anymore. And so shit is just a little different, but we decided we wanted to have another stream, especially when I wasn't doing that one. And I was like, look, I think it would be important to have a stream where we get people from all over the industry and kind of like parallel industries. So like whether it's the video game industry, or last week we talked to like someone from the merchandising realm who makes t-shirts and shit like that. So it was more than just like, because I see a lot of like, here's what you need to make it in the music business, you know? And like, it's hard because, and we're going to get into this because I know that you do a lot of like online mentoring and like talking. Yeah. But here's the thing. There's not one way to skin a cat. There never will be. So it's like so hard for me to say what I did because I feel like my success is a series of successful moments and fuck ups. And probably the most important thing in my career that I should attribute to damn near everything that I have at this point is that I am very good at eating shit. I can just fucking eat it. And I did for a long time. And a lot of people want to skip that process. And maybe I'm old school. But that is non-negotiable in my come up. You know, like it was... whether rappers want to call it the struggle or whatever it is, it was just like there's some really hard moments where I wasn't making any money and I was sacrificing my time and my money to do this. And people don't want to do that anymore. They want to skip that process because they think that they can live on the internet and not have to do almost that physical FaceTime that, you know, I put in. And so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be like, here's what you got to do like me, you know, and here's all my homies that can help you. Instead, I was like, look, my people are my people, but they're not my people. Like, my t-shirt guy is not my t-shirt guy. The guy that makes my records, like physically prints them, he's not my record guy. He will make your record. If you're interested in pressing your shit to vinyl or CD or having a DVD made or a fucking USB drive that doubles as a dildo, he could do that for you.
That's the new wave.
Yeah, man. He could be that dude. And he should be that dude for you because the reason why I use him is because I think he's the best. The reason why I use my t-shirt guy is because I think he's the best. These are available people to anyone. And I wanted that to go beyond just services, but personalities like yourself. I think you have a lot to offer. And you don't just have a lot to offer to me or the specific people that you fuck with. Like, you are accessible. If people want to know more about what you're doing or they want to subscribe to your advice, you have multiple channels in which they could do that for you. And it's theirs and they can do that. You know, you have those PDFs, which we're going to get into this shit because you have a lot of information out there that is not easy to obtain. Like, I spent most of my career not knowing a lot of those things. And, you know, like, number one is chasing down your money. That shit is hard on purpose. Like, they make it hard for you to get your money. And I took a musical business class in music school. Like, straight up. Like, I took a music business class and I still had no idea what the fuck was going on because it's ever changing. When I went to school, there was no Spotify. There was no YouTube. I mean, there was YouTube, but there wasn't music on YouTube. So I'm old. And
well, you look like you're 17, so that's all that matters. But yeah, man, I agree with all of that. You know, there are so many people out there these days, you know, trying to sell the formula to success. And, you know, there are many ways to skin a cat. There's no one way to do it. So that's kind of what I've just kind of naturally fell into in the industry is I've always been posting things that I learned. So I started with Oren 4 years ago and I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any connections. And so we had to learn step by step, you know, where do you collect your royalties? How do you distribute music? And then just as I learned these things, I would post it online on my Instagram, you know, totally free, just putting out the knowledge. And that's kind of how my following started to grow. And then 2020, fast forward, it kind of became my business. My brand is really helping people and putting out knowledge as much as I can. But I want to go back to what you're saying about eating shit, because I think that's super important. You know, I'm a big believer in that. The most important thing I did on my journey was doing things for free. So, you know, you can vouch for this. The way I met you was by building a studio in my house and then offering my house for free to anyone on the road doing tours, just so that I could make that connection. And, Mike, I think Mike Squires, he was on this chat too, and I met him, and just all these different relationships came from doing things for free just to try to get in the door. And it wasn't really eating shit. Like, you guys are obviously really nice, and but yeah, you have to do things that you don't want to do. Like, it's because, like, with Rap House, which is my Airbnb studio, the majority of the work was doing dishes and laundry, but all people see is the posts of me with the artists, like you and Webby, and so so I think that's a really overlooked part of it, is that even if you learn everything that you have to do to get to that successful point, there's going to be so much shit you got to eat along the way that you don't find out about until it happens, and you can't have your ego in the way of that.
And that's such a fucking interesting, like, I've been doing this for, it feels like fucking forever. But like, I've been touring and doing this hustle for over 15 years. I quit my job in 2007 to do this full time. So I haven't had a job other than this since 2007. I've been eating off of music since 2007. So I've seen a lot of different hustles and a lot of different things. And, when we started, we had a van, and that was like the big thing, because we could go on all these tours and we would be like, look, we have a van, it's free. Like, if you guys want to hop in, like, or if you just want us to follow you, it's whatever. But then word got around that we had this van, and so people just started calling us, and they're like, yo, you want to go on tour? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, can we use the van? I was like, if we go... And they're like, hell yeah, you can go. You main support on the tour. I was like, okay. So we were landing main support gigs just because we had the van. So we were doing the driving and shit. But you kind of flipped that on its head. You have a fucking house. You're like, you know what? I'm going to make them come to me. And I think about that because I remember getting the email about it. And I think it was from like Webby Fury forwarded it to me. Yeah. And I was like, huh. I was like, this is interesting because this could go one of two ways, right? Like, dude could be super chill, and this could be like a really cool experience and like a network, or dude could be a fucking stone cold Punisher. Like, because it's like there's a studio in the house, but the way that it came across was like that it was its own entity, right? Like that it's its own thing. Like, dude's not gonna fucking like. You're not going to wake up in the middle of the night and dude's going to be like hovering over your face and being like, you want to hear me freestyle? Hey, you want to hear me freestyle? And, which is to be expected most of the time when you end up going, if someone's like, I got a house you can stay at. And you're like, mm-hmm. And then you get there and all of a sudden, like, all 6 of his homies are there, and they got like a fucking cardboard on the floor, and they're breakdancing, and they're freestyling in your face, and it's crazy. But you that was not the situation with you, and because we stayed with you twice, and the first time I didn't understand. I was like, this dude just has a fucking house, like that he can like just have people come chill at. And yeah, you had all these photos, and you had all these like you had met all these artists, and continue. I mean, when tour comes back, I assume you will continue to meet artists, and what a fucking interesting, smart thing that you did.
So, okay, I want to pause you there because I do a lot of things that just kind of happen. So this is one of them. So if we or rewind all the way back to 2017, I just started working with Oren. We were getting some streaming success, and as his manager, I was like, we need to lower overhead, whatever we can. So make your own beats, mix your own stuff, and then don't pay for studio time. So shout out my day job. I work as a software developer for General Motors, and that's been what's sustaining all of this.
Yeah.
I told Oren one day, I was like, hey, when my apartment lease ends, I might be able to get a house. And if I get a house, we could have a studio. And so that's what ended up happening. He's like, yeah, that'd be cool. And so I looked into it. Within 45 days, I was in a house. And then the first night
my guy's got good credit. 45 days, this dude was in this motherfucker. Shout outs to good credit. And for just canceling. There we are.
My bad. that I was getting notifications on Discord,
You gotta turn your camera
yeah,
back on.
okay, let me do that video.
That was perfect though.
Hey, my bad.
I like, did he just leave me?
Yeah, I was getting Discord notifications, so I was gonna turn it off, but my bad. But yeah, so anyways, I got the house, and then the first night I was here, before I even moved in any of my stuff, I started tearing up this bedroom because that's what I got this house for. I got this house to build the studio in this bedroom, and then I had sized the house to be able to fit me, fit Oren, fit my best friend Eli, and then my roommate Daniel at the time. So it was intended for 5 of us to live here, basically. And then none of that happened. So I spent 2018 building the studio by myself. And then once it was done, nobody moved into the fucking house. And so
Party.
that's when I decided, let's get some people in here. So I started running it as a studio. I had engineers living in the house and operating as a studio. And then that kind of wasn't panning out for different reasons. But then I had an idea, like maybe I should reach out to people on tour. You know, they're on the road, they're sleeping in the bus, they're not eating right. So I just started emailing everyone I could. I would go to the venue calendars around Arizona, and I would just find, okay, there's Earl Sweatshirt or there's Chris Webby, and I would just email their managers. I'd go Google, figure out who everyone was, and then follow up until eventually someone said yes. And so we got Earl Sweatshirt was the first person to come stay here, and his manager Layla Steinberg, who was Tupac's first manager, is actually the person who called me, set it up, and vouched for me to them, um, because she called me on the phone, and she's like, "I'm gonna have them come stay with you, but don't tell them you don't know me," because she's like, "I don't want to just send them to a stranger's house," and so I had to kind of convince them that I knew Layla, but she had stuck her neck out for me. And anyway, so it ended up working out. We got Earl Sweatshirt in here, and then after that, the credibility was there to be able to get Webby and you guys, and eventually we got Jack Harlow was the last person to come stay here. But yeah, so I just want to say that this was not the intention of any of this. It just kind of happened.
But sometimes that's how we find our path. I had a couple weeks ago an artist on here that is, you know, I know him via music, but he's really, you know, he's kind of sustaining more in the visual world now with photos and video because, you know, he had to like teach himself that stuff to make his own videos to lower overhead and shit like that. And then people were like, yo, where'd you get that video done? And he's like, I fucking made it. So now he's, you know, he's doing more video than people going like, oh shit, where'd you get that beat? Like I made the beat. So it's interesting how our original intentions can cause that pivot and have us doing something that ends up being pretty successful. Because I mean, let's say, you know, you lower overhead, you got all those people living in there, you would have never had the idea of doing, you know, Rap House, and then your network net would be so much smaller. Like we probably wouldn't be here talking. You know, exactly. I wouldn't know who Oren is. Like there's a lot that, you know, that pivot is important.
Right. Yeah, and so that's, I mean, I was thinking about it before our call today, like trying to figure out how to describe what I do, because I do a lot of things. But I think when I look back at it, I naturally am good at creating assets to provide value to others for free in order to grow that network. Because it started off way back with my playlist, my Spotify playlist. That's how I got into all of this. That's how I met Oren, because I had a Spotify playlist. And that was the first thing that got me into doors, you know? So I was growing this playlist just naturally. It was my workout playlist. And then managers and artists and labels started contacting me. I was like, oh shit, this is cool. I have a little bit of like leverage here, you know?
Yeah, you got a little power.
Yeah, it felt good. I'm not gonna lie. And then so that was the first one. And then when I got Rap House and I started using it as the tour lodging, it was like, okay, that's a bigger form of the playlist. It's the same idea. It's an asset. I can give value, but it allowed me to connect with way bigger people because of it. And so the next thing I ended up doing, talking about, you know, trying to help artists, was my Patreon. So 2020, we were on tour back in March also, and then when things shut down, we didn't know what we were doing, and I couldn't do the rap house stuff. I couldn't have people come through, and so I started focusing more on giving value to artists and helping artists. And so I started a Patreon, just as a subscription platform, just to see if people appreciated, what I was doing, to try and help out. And it pushed me to start posting lots of content, trying to help people as much as I could. And within 6 months, we had 300 subscribers. And then like 2 weeks ago, I realized that's another asset. That's the potential client base that I can leverage into partnerships with Chaotica. I think you saw that post. So they're
the old Mike Mitten.
Yeah. So do you like Chaotica or not really?
Okay, so I'm an audio nerd.
Yeah.
I truly believe. Now, I think that those things are helpful for certain scenarios, like, shit, you got to cut some rough vocals, in the hotel or some shit like that.
Right.
But you're in a treated room, with staggered studs. Like, I've seen your build out, and, sound is meant to pass through it and past a microphone. You send a source at it, and it isn't supposed to kind of swirl around it and get trapped in there. And I believe that sound should flow past the microphone. They're built that way. But that's why I said engage high pass filters, because the lowness of your voice, especially like a male voice, there are lower registers, and that can come across really muddy, especially in a mix. Now, it could sound good when you listen to it if you just got a blank space. You're going check 1, check 2, testing, and then you hear it back and you're like, whoa, I sound fucking full bodied, or like I got it ear plugged or something like that. Like I'm sound like a big dick up in here. And the thing is if you probably look at a frequency chart of it, it's probably going to be really heavy on the low end, because that low end isn't actually, it's supposed to kind of pass the microphone and not be in the little mitten there with it. That being said, it is what it is, man. Like, it totally works. Like, I think if you're sitting here and you're doing streams and no one's gonna, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right. If I go to a studio, if I'm like, yo, I agree to make a record with this studio, we'd say, hey, it's, put me down for 15 songs. And then, I show up, they're charging me $20,000 or whatever it cost me for studio time. I show up and they got a fucking Chaotica eyeball. I'm taking my money back, just because, I think it's great if you're like in your bedroom, like if you don't have the opportunity, like you have Owens Corning 703, what is it, 2-inch on your walls right there? Like, so you have panels, I have the same things that deal with the reflection points in your room, right? So when you go into a room and you give it that clap and you hear the ping off in the corner, sounds a bouncy ball. And when you throw sound into the Chaotica eyeball, it just goes pit. So it can't actually, there is a natural reverberation to everything we do in here and see. It's just with the panels that you have is to control that reflection, so that we're not hearing post reflections coming into the microphone, or we're not hearing little pings and stuff, or affecting our frequencies into the microphone from our vocals or drums or amps or anything like that. So it's good.
So, I mean, I agree with that. I had a Chaotica before, and I did use it in this room after it was treated, and
too much,
completely muddy, like you said. Yeah, it's too much, because it's not designed, or it's not needed when you're in a treated room, because there are none of those reflections just overpowering the mic. It's treated. But I did use it, like, I think in my living room at one point.
That's what it's for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to partner with them, because I think most of the people in my community are artists that are recording at home. They don't have treatment like this,
Mm.
and so it's perfect for them if they're in a normal bedroom with four walls, and they're just recording normally. So yeah, that's why I was super stoked to get with Chaotica, and yeah, just going back to that, I had created this new thing apparently that I can use to get in the doors with people. I mean, I had an influencer from TikTok reach out to me yesterday wanting to work with me because of this potential customer base that is my Patreon. So I think that's
Oh
what
shit, you gonna start doing dances, dog?
Yeah, well, I'm feeling good. I got some scotch in me.
Yeah.
I usually do this on the street.
That's tight, and that's a really interesting. Like, you stay on that pivot, my guy. It's interesting because, just like you said, you probably wouldn't be on the Patreon right now if you weren't, if all your avenues were shut down because of quarantine and COVID-19. And instead of going, or going ahead and saying fuck it and like risking the biscuit on everything and just like, you decided to be like, all right, this is what it is right now. We cannot change it. So what am I going to do? Yeah. That's awesome. I've looked at Patreon before and I've seen people doing it, but man, I don't have time for all that content. And I am attached to the things that I make. So if I make things that are only for a group of people, I don't think I have the creative bandwidth to do it personally, because I see artists that are like, this song is just for my Patreon subscribers, or like, and it's like one of two things, like, okay, it's a stinker you're sitting on that you're just gonna fucking give to your thing, or you are really out here making separate songs for people. And is that, and this is not a judgmental question, this is just a real question, is it worth it more as an artist, because you're a little different, but like as someone who, let's say I record a song, I'm really proud of it, I put it out for everyone, right? That's where I want it to live. But let's say I'm just making, downloadable content for my Patreon family. Is it worth it more to have that song that I love be in the hands of just them for subscription purposes? Or is it, in the long run, for longevity's sake, is it better to have it out there for the world?
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I think, for you, definitely, especially with the way that you make music, it's such a process. I think it makes a lot more sense to put it out to everyone.
Yeah.
Because, that I completely agree with that. I think for you, if you were to do it, I don't know, there's probably people on the stream that want you to, but if you were to do it, I think it would be personal stuff, man. Just like what you're doing on this day, if you got the baby, like whatever you're doing. I think people just want to see into your life,
Well, that's what my OnlyFans is for, dog.
Oh, you have an OnlyFans?
Yeah,
okay.
I sit back and I watch Steven Seagal movies and I jack off. And it's there's like, you can pan down if you want, or there's a little screen divider. So if you don't want to see that part and you just want to watch me watch Steven Seagal movies, we're chilling. But if you want to see me jack off to Under Siege 2, you gotta subscribe.
I feel like definitely something you would charge for normally. So it's not special, guys.
I had to pivot. Okay. I had to fucking pivot. But yeah, like example for that is like Eli from the Living Legends. He does really well on Patreon and he does a lot of content. Like, this dude's like painting fucking paintings for people and making separate albums just for them. And to me, that just seems exhausting. But some people have that, like, and for you, in your case, you're selling guidance, you're selling advice, and that is so much more applicable to that platform, I think. And it's so much like, you see, you're browsing through Patreon, you see your channel and you're like, oh, okay, well, if I subscribe to this, then I know that I'm going to get, weekly or monthly content from this dude about something that I need help with, because I don't know how to do this shit. And, for for the small cost of whatever the subscription is, I could test it out for a little bit, see if I like it. If I don't like it, you know, then I can move on and I could find somebody else that's offering the same thing that is a little bit more catered to my needs. But I think for what you do and already for what you've given away, I think it's good. And if I had that, like Colin, you should have fucking Patreon. You should be fucking schooling these kids. But I guess it's just different, and the need and the want and the bandwidth to make that content, like you said, you're good at it. I don't think I am. To be personal, like
I mean, my content's not even that like all I do is I get on Zoom calls usually, whether it be consultations or like podcast things, and then I chop it up on iMovie with the same little like 4-second intro outro, and then I just put it on YouTube and link it to my Patreon. But that's the thing, man. I never intended Patreon to be like selling, you know. It was just you support me because I'm always giving out stuff. You get some exclusive stuff, and then the best part honestly has been pushing it into the Discord, because you can link Patreon and Discord, and so only my patrons are in my Discord. That way there's no fucking randos like, hey, let me spit some bars, you know, like just hopping in and ruining conversations. You know, everyone's paying to be there, they're all serious, and they're all on the same path. And so with the Discord, we now have 250 people, 250 artists in like every city across the United States. So the next time we do get to tour, I'm going to leverage that heavily, you know, because I could say, okay, what cities do we have? You know, who can book venues? Who wants to open? And that's what we were missing the last time.
My motherfucker dude, that's how we used to do it back in the day. That's how we were doing. Like when MySpace came up and everyone's like, well, I could post pictures of me making this face. I was like, because they had the search. You could search top artists in every city. Do you remember that on MySpace? You could put in an area code and you could see who has the most plays from that city. And we would just fucking go, we would route a tour, hit up those artists and be like, what are you doing? We have a monthly night in Seattle. We put fucking 300 people in the room every time we do it. You should come. And this is, you know, 2006, 2005. And we would book tours across the country just by using that night. And I somehow had a fuckload of MySpace plays. Like I got featured. I had a song that got featured on the front page of MySpace, and it blew my shit up. Yeah, it was super weird.
You were MySpace famous, bro.
God, I don't know what the fuck happened there, and I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. But instead of going like, oh shit, I could meet bitches on here or whatever people were doing on MySpace, I was like, I could legitimately fucking like network us across the country with this. And I did. And I built my fucking career on the back of that shit. And it was extremely valuable.
That's what it is. It's pivoting, and it's seeing what opportunities you have. You know, like you can look at the same thing as someone else and see a totally different potential value, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, man, I think that's what the difference is between a lot of the past people taking over 2020. You know, a lot of people who were doing fairly well, you know, things out of your control happen. You lose money, shit goes wrong, but a lot of people ended up just kind of going down that negative spiral of like, I can't do this, I can't do that, woe is me, you know, and just falling into that negativity versus like, okay, this sucks, we lost all this, what can we do now? You know, and I think that's what you did. That's what I did. That's what a lot of the more successful people did, I think, is just looking for those opportunities rather than looking for excuses or things to complain about.
Yeah, and that when this is over and everything goes back to quote unquote normal, the things that we see from people and the people that we see immediately are going to be the people that didn't sit around and go, woe is me. The people that we are going to see kind of rise on top, and I think we're going to see a lot of new artists coming out of this because every global tragedy sparks a artistic renaissance. So there's a lot of people that we haven't even heard of yet that have been sitting in their house this past year making the best music haven't heard yet, you know?
Right.
So I think there's going to be a huge change in the artists that we recognize and know of, and I'm excited for that. But also maybe some of the ones that weren't getting a lot of love are, you know, the ones that withstood this and pivoted like we've been talking about, and have built their careers larger during this time, is going to be really interesting. And a lot of the people that thought that they could just take this year off and disappear and then come back like nothing happened, and all of a sudden their desk isn't there anymore and they don't fucking have a job here no more. We're gonna see some of that too. So we'll see. I mean, when this whole thing happened, it didn't feel real. I was on tour. I was in a tour bus in Canada, you know, sitting on a curb in a parking lot outside of like a fucking like a Starbucks or some shit, and we're talking with Colin, and he's like, you know, it looks like places are shutting down. A lot of places have this 300 person rule, which now you're looking at and you're like, that's fucking crazy. Like, they're like, no more than 300 people in a room, and you're like, you can't have more than 6 motherfuckers in a place now, and you all gotta be 6 feet apart. And so we were sitting there and we're like, what do we do? Like, do we continue? And, you know, my lady's here in Washington. She's pregnant with our first kid. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what do I do? And, you know, we're like, well, we got to keep going. If they're going to let us keep going, we got to keep going. Even if they cut it down to 300 people, like, that's just what it is going to have to be. Like, I don't know what else to do. And then literally the next day, it's like, yeah, they're places are shutting down completely, and we're like, well, is it gonna shut down for like the next 2 months? Like, do we just cancel a week of the tour and then jump back on, and then the day after that it's like, no, this shit is done. Like, the world as you know it is about to change. Cities are shutting down for 2 weeks where people are encouraged to literally not leave their homes, and we're like, what the fuck? We get over the border back home, and you know, I lost more money than I've ever lost in my whole entire life. I'm being told by the government and everyone else that I'm not going to be able to work. I'm self-employed, so I don't like really apply for unemployment, and it's really confusing for what I would need to do to get involved with that. Shout outs to Colin for getting that shit done. But like it was. I've never been through anything like this, and no, you couldn't call anyone. Like, you know, we call our fucking, you know, we call our accountant and be like, what do I do? And they're like, I don't know, I'm fucked too. And you're like, oh shit, we're all fucked. And it's scary. You know, like I had mentioned before we went live, like I thought I was done. You know, I was calling in all my favors, and people were like, I can't help you. And it was like, I thought I was done. And then I was like, how am I going to get a job if everywhere's closed? What am I going to do to pay off this crazy amount of debt that I just lost from this fucking tour? Like, what is going to happen? And I spent, you know, what did I say to Colin? I forget the time. I was like, give me 2 weeks. You know, like, let me be a bitch about it for 2 weeks. Like, just like a sniveling little bitch about it for like 2 weeks, and then I will put my big boy pants on, I'll come to the table, and you know, we'll fucking figure this out. And it was you guys, it was the fans that like helped. Like I just, when it happened and we canceled and we were packing up our shit and going home, and Colin ran the numbers on everything before we even played the last show, which was in Spokane. Before we even finished, he's like, here's what you stand to lose. Wow. And I was like, what? Looking at the number, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, look, here's what you lose in show money. Here's what you spent on merchandise that you, like, you know, you're not going to sell 2 months worth of merchandise from your online store. And it was, looking at that number, I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm done. This is like I would have to legitimately file for bankruptcy, you know? If I can even do that right now when the whole fucking world is bankrupt. So I was scared, and, you know, I put out this like kind of, you know, this post that was like, look, here's the fucking deal. And this is before we knew anything about what was going on, right? Like, we didn't know that everyone was about to lose their jobs. We didn't know shit. It was just like they were killing mass gatherings. They're like, no more mass gatherings. So we were the first ones to go. The live entertainment business was the first one to leave. They will be the last ones back. So it's not like I 100% have sympathy for all, you know, all my service workers out there and all these people. But we were the first ones to lose it. We'll be the last ones to get it back. And we didn't know what to do, so I just posted the thing, and I was like, look, if you want to use your ticket refunds or whatever to buy some merch, I got all this fucking merch that I have no idea what I'm gonna do with. You know, that'd be great. And I shipped every order out myself because everyone had to go home. We couldn't be in places with other people, so we couldn't have like a merch team or anything like that. And I hand-packed, I don't want to drop the number, but let's just say we broke fucking even on that number that Colin showed me before we left Spokane. And I like, my hands were just like permanently like in the fucking label peeling fucking just the merch claw, dude. And it saved my life. And like, and Colin, you know, because Colin is a full-time employee for me. All the money that I make goes towards my life and Colin's life. And so, you know, he's like, well, you got to, you know, first things first, you got to fire me. I was like, if I fucking fire you, I'm definitely not getting out of this. Like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so it was, you guys made it so Colin could be here to ban you motherfuckers when you're here on the Twitch talking all that shit. And make no mistake, the ban hammer will land on you quicker than you believe, because the ban hammer is here. But it was nuts, man. It was nuts. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I underestimated myself. You know, maybe I underestimated what I had built. And maybe it's time to start looking at what I have built and what I have around me and how I can use that to pivot, to do something else, to create something new. And that is, you know, that's how this Twitch stuff came around. And although it's not like this huge fucking blown out crazy thing, it has been a constant in my life, and I really enjoy doing this. And it has been a way for me to stay close with some fans and get to know people, actually. Like, in our Discord, it's like an open conversation between me and like 300 people. And what a awesome platform. Like, there's no algorithm cutting you down, right? So there's no throttling. So when you post to your Discord and you're like, yo, we're hitting the road next month or something like that, where are you guys at? All 250 of your Discord people or whoever's in there, you know, hopefully by then it's like 2,500 people in your Discord are like, yo, I'm here. And it's not like you got to make 700 fucking posts. You know, I have 124,000 Facebook followers, and I posted a link to a song that I made the other day, and it like, I checked it like the next morning, and it was like, this has been seen by 24 people. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? And it's like, boost your fucking post. Like, give us money, and, you know, we'll pull our fucking finger out of your ass. It's ridiculous. So I think we're going to see it. I've used this word too many times, but we're going to see a pivot in platforms as well. Like, look at how many people are on Twitch. Illmind has a fucking Twitch channel now. You know, like, there are so many, like, different things going on here that were not happening before. And look at like Discord. You know, everyone's like, yo, hit the Discord, hit the Discord. This time last year, none of these motherfuckers knew what a Discord was, right?
Yeah.
It's for gamers. It was for internal chat amongst gamers. I knew what a Discord chat was because I know Sarah Dope. And Sarah Dope makes me learn these things. I didn't use a Discord. I had one. But I know Sarah Dope. And Sarah Dope is fucking Alpha Nerd. Alpha Nerd Omega.
Yeah, man. The Discords and the Twitches are awesome. I think that, you know, so I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people and being around people unless I like really know them well. And so, you know, even going back to the Rap House stuff, that was all way outside my comfort zone to meet new people constantly, have them in my house. But with the lockdown, I think it really favored me because I like talking to people online. You know, I'm cool texting all day. I'm cool, you know, talking to people online, but then pushing over to the videos and stuff, that was a little bit more I had to step out of, but realizing that there's so much potential to reach all these people was awesome. And I think that's what everyone else realized too. It's like Illmind's a great example. He was doing in-person classes, like BLAP sessions, I think is what
for
they're
years
called, where he'd have, you know, 40 people or whatever come to see him, learn from him, play their music for him. And then when the pandemic happened, we couldn't do any of those events anymore. And so he turned to Twitch, turned to Discord, started creating communities. And yeah, Discord is awesome. You're just in everyone's pocket. Patreon was actually partially stemmed from me not being able to get my posts to people. So like you said, you have followers on Facebook, but no one sees your posts.
Yeah.
Same thing with Instagram. You know, my whole community.
Oh yeah, Instagram's on some bullshit.
Oh my god, dude, it's random. But yeah, so I would post on Instagram, and I wasn't reaching. Like every year, it's less and less of my followers that I'm getting to reach. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to Patreon. Come follow me there. You'll see every single post because you'll get a notification on a different app. And that's what I really liked about all of this, was just being able to reach everyone through the internet, because it's never been more possible. You know, like before MySpace, you had MySpace, you took advantage of it, but before all of this, you know, there's never been a better time to have this lockdown where you can't see people in person and have to go through the internet, because there's all these opportunities.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see where everything goes. Because we're getting pretty comfy in this, like...
I know.
The introverts are thriving right now. Yeah. But what happens when you got to leave your fucking house again? It's going to be interesting. But I also don't think that we're entirely close to that time, you know?
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is how we're living until as fast as it happened, it can change. You know, like one day things were good and then they weren't. So right now things are going to be bad until they're not. And I'm going to maintain like this, because I feel like a lot of people are definitely, you know, especially like, you know, we talked with the booking agent on here, and it's like, you know, this dude's rebooking and rerouting these fucking tours like every other month to try to like get on the front end of when they're allowing concerts back, to be there on the first. And I've completely fucking given up on that. Like, I assume that rush to those venues is going to be so incredibly overwhelming that I'm not going to see an offer for a year after we get back to normal. And right. I mean, if I do, can you imagine? You have every artist in the world ready to start touring again, and it is like you're gonna see holds that you've never seen before. You're gonna see like, yeah, we could play Cincinnati, but it's like 120-second hold. I mean, there's 121 people ahead of you that also want to play on that day. And if all of those people flake, then yeah, you can fucking play in Cincinnati, Ohio on fucking March 7th or whatever. Like, it is... I'm going to go ahead and let all that fuck shit die down before I even try to throw my name in that hat. Because two things are going to happen with that. Shit is going to get all fucked up. Shit is going to get double booked. People are going to get exhausted fans are going to get exhausted because all of their favorite artists are going to be like, guess what, bitch? I'm on tour. And you have to come out because it has been 2 years since I've been touring. And they're like, shit, you and every other motherfucker this week. Like, fans aren't going to have the money for that because they are hopefully just getting back to fucking work. So no one's going to have the money for it. And then the other part is, I feel like since all of this has happened and all of that has been going on, I feel like B-team artists like myself are going to get offered less money.
Oh.
Because we can't, like, let's say I try to stay in that first wave and book a tour. Nobody knows what that looks like. And promoters sometimes have to take a risk with me. Meaning sometimes they got to go, well, I actually haven't heard of this guy. The numbers add up, but I don't really know. None of that is happening. And none of that may happen for a really long time because think about a promoter right now. Someone whose job it is to take that risk and make money on those shows hasn't been able to do that for a year now. Meaning that person has no income if that's all they did. They have zero income because they're not profiting. It's, you know, a promoter is almost like playing the stock market. Sometimes it fucking really works out for you and it's a big payoff. A lot of the times you lose on the smaller ones so that you can gain on the bigger ones. And there's just none of them now. And what if your last one was a loss? What if your last show that they closed down quarantine on, you fuck around and lost $5,000 on or something like that, which maybe isn't a big deal to you because you got 4 shows a week and you got E40 coming tomorrow or something like that, and he's gonna sell it. It's already sold out, so it's no one's gonna be taking risks. I think it's gonna be hard too for artists like Oren and stuff like that, who are going to be very anxious to want to start their career, right?
Yeah.
But you have no history of touring, right? And you can't prove anything other than some Spotify numbers, but like, fuck your Spotify numbers because we were all just locked in our house for a year. So of course your Spotify numbers had a jump. Everyone's numbers had a jump. So it's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna let that shit breathe for a little bit.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you because I know theoretically that a lot of venues have been heavily affected by this, especially the smaller ones. But because you tour so much, do you know what's going on with all the venues? Are like, what percentage would you say are temporarily closed, completely closed? Because I just don't see how venues are surviving when people can't even go out, much less have live shows.
Well, unfortunately, I think I've seen a lot of venues just not be able to hold on. And that's, kind of 500 cap and under venues. And these are venues that aren't restaurants, that aren't, nationally backed or, not Live Nation owned things like the House of Blues and stuff like that. Like, those are all going to do fine because they're owned by, a fucking powerhouse. But, your local venue, like the Red Room, that shithole, is that place going to fucking survive this? Like, if that place serves food, which I really fucking hope it doesn't, maybe that building's paid off, right? Maybe the guy that owns the Red Room owns the building, and it's Phoenix, and rent is a lot fucking more reasonable than it is for. Let's start looking at our major cities. Let's start looking at New York, Chicago, LA, Seattle, San Francisco. We're gonna lose some heavy hitters, and so we have the Crocodile, but the Crocodile's a little different. The Crocodile didn't go out of business. They're doing the complete opposite. They are leveling up in Seattle. Their landlord decided to say fuck it, probably assuming that they would not be able to pay. So their landlord said, we're not going to renew your lease, And the investors in the Crocodile decided, well, we've been wanting to do what we're about to do for a long time, and they went and bought the fucking El Gaucho down the street, and now we'll have 2 venues, a movie theater, and a hotel. So they went from a 500 cap room to 900 cap room, a 300 cap room, a 100 cap movie theater, and a 15-room hotel, and a full-service restaurant.
That's what's up, man. That's
so
what you got to do. Yeah.
That is an exception to the rule.
Right.
I'm so happy for them because that is my home. That is my home court. That's my fucking venue. That is who I ride for in Seattle. But it could have gone, let's say the investors were like, yeah, well, it was a good run, which I think most people are doing right now. It's like, look, things like owning a music venue are a passion project. It's like, look, I got a shitload of money. I'll invest in this. I want free tickets for me and my friends to show up and be like, I'm an 8th stake owner of this bitch. You know, like, it's not, unless you're selling out it's a lot. Let's be real. You know, and they had a restaurant in it, but they served pizza so you could drink more. That's the only reason why they served pizza. It didn't make them any money. It just made them more money at the bar because it's like, yeah, you're too drunk to have this fucking pizza. Oh, all of a sudden you can drink 6 more Coors Lights? Let's go, dog. So, I think a lot of rooms, like I think Red Room is a great example. Will they be able to survive? Maybe their situation is different, but if we're just looking at them as a music venue that hasn't earned a penny in a year now, what do you do? And the people that have money in you, what do they decide to do? Honestly, if I'm an investor in it, I'm pulling out. Because I don't know where this shit is going, you know? So
that's what I was thinking, you know, it's like, there's going to be this huge rush to get back into touring. Every artist has been dying to get back on the road. But when we get back, the fans, like you said, might not be able to buy all the tickets for all the shows that are happening, but there might not even be nearly as many venues as there were before. So it's like,
you'll get your arena shows. You'll get your big shows.
Yeah.
Shows so big that they got to put them in a place that doesn't actually normally do shows. You got to bring the fucking sound system and the stage and all that shit with you. But then you got to think about that. How many production companies survived this?
Right. I guess there's really no way to know how many people were impacted in this industry alone, but that's why I don't have super high hopes of like that level of tour coming back, because I know, you know, that the Drakes and the Weeknd, they're all going to be fine, but like, you know, the people doing the cool local venues, like those venues might not exist, the bookers might not exist, the artists might not be artists anymore, and so it's kind of just like a sad time. But I think eventually, hopefully, the people who thrive during this time will come back and we'll see those new artists, and that'll be really cool. But yeah, and so, are you an introvert?
I dabble back and forth.
Okay, that makes sense.
I need.
You go both ways?
Yeah, I go both ways. I need.
What's it been like?
It's been good. It's the only part that I don't like about it is that it's forced on me.
Oh,
you know,
it's not your choice. Yeah.
So I can't balance it out by like, you know, going out for a night, and then, you know, I'm back in my house for the rest of the month, which is kind of like normally how it goes. Like, I when I tour, I fucking the young ambivert. Hell yeah! Shout outs to James Garden, very talented dude that I met years ago, touring with fucking Macklemore.
Oh wow!
A long time ago. Love that dude. But yeah, like normally I could like go out, have a wild night, come home, and then, you know, be good for the rest of the month. And I tour, like I fucking go crazy for a living. So when I do come home from tour, I don't want to be doing shit, and I don't want to be doing like extroverted things because I just spent a month, like, whether I like it or not, being extroverted. Like, and like having to always be on is exhausting on tour. Like, you know, you can't have a bad day when you're on tour. Because if you bump into somebody when you're walking through the crowd or something like that, and they're like, "Hey, what's up, bitch?" and you're just like not in the fucking mood, like, you're the asshole forever in that person's eyes. And it's fuck you. And it's like they'll take pictures of them like snapping your CDs and shit, and like it's fucking crazy. So you gotta be on always, and it's exhausting. So by the time I get home, I just need like a week to like, and I don't want to hear any music. I just want silence. I want to sleep, and I just want silence. But since I haven't had that, this is the longest I've ever gone without touring.
Right, since 2007.
Probably. Yeah. Longest I've ever gone, and so that has been weird, and I feel myself getting a little angsty sometimes, but all in all, I got a lot of shit to do right now. You know, I got a brand new child here, and like the lady's working from home, which is amazing. Like, I don't know how we would have done this like if everything was normal. Like, my lady would be commuting an hour to Seattle every day. I'd be left here with a fucking brand new baby, like not knowing what the hell is going out. Shout out to Liz Murda with the subscription. Are you a Ja Rule fan? I feel like you fucking might be. But you know, like I'm looking at it. Like we were planning like all this other shit, and I was like, yeah, well, you know, I'll get off tour and I'll have a stack of money and I'll be good to go for like a while, and I'll just be I'll be a stay-at-home dad and I'll be killing it. And now I'm like, holy shit, you were feeling yourself. Like, you were really feeling yourself, thinking that you could just fuck around and do this. And we got a pretty easy kid. But I can't imagine, like, you know, she's got to leave here at like 6:30 in the morning through rush hour traffic to get to her work, and then it's rush hour track to get back. So she's leaving at 6:30 and coming home at 7 o'clock at night. So I'm with a fucking baby from 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. I wouldn't be here right now. And I look tired right now, but this is 100% better than what I would probably look like if I had to be full-time daddy man from 6 to 7. Wow. That'd be fucking crazy. Yeah, I'm taking that as a blessing. And now she's like working from home and she's like brought it up to her boss, is like, can I just work from home? Like, that's like a thing now. Like, a lot of us can just do that now. Right. And I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like such a strange time in your life. I mean, from touring for 15 years, and then now you have a kid, and you can't do any of that extroverted stuff that you're used to blow off steam, and damn, man, it's just so different, man. But
can't share my kid with anyone, like I can't be like, check out my new baby, and like go like see family. Like, my parents haven't met their grandson.
Oh shit, yeah, that's got to be one of the hardest parts. Like we talked about before the stream, I haven't been able to go back to Hawaii and see any of my family because of all these restrictions. And yeah, I mean, are they going to get vaccinated? Do you know?
They already have their second shot. Okay. But since there's all this like the new strains and shit going around, and it's not necessarily guaranteed that you can't carry it just because you can't get sick by it. They're like, we're not coming. And I was like, fair. Yeah. So I don't know. It's been wild, and it is what it is. And that is how we have to look at it until it's over. And even when it's over, I'm still going to keep kind of the mind state. I think we should always keep the mind state that this shit fuck around and happen again. Right. And look at all we learned during this time. Look at all, like, for the people that have managed to be successful during this time, you don't have to stop doing these things now. That you like, the world isn't going to be like, okay, you have to go back to the regular hustle, and you're like, no, I don't. Like, people are adapted now after a year. I do believe that the kind of like live concert, like the fucking live stream concert shit, nobody gave a fuck about that before. I don't really know if anybody gives a fuck about it now, and
Right.
I don't think they'll give a fuck about it when they can go back to actually seeing concerts again. Right now, it's just kind of like, look, I'm not gonna fuck you, but I'll jack you off or something like that, like, right? So, and you're like, man, okay. That's all that is. This is just a really sad hand job, is what a fucking live stream concert is. It's just a sad hand job with no finish, and so I don't think that we'll see more of that, but I do think this kind of like live interaction shit we'll see more of, because we didn't really want to do it before, because it was like, well, like, gotta have a line, like there's got to be a line between me and this, and that line's been blurred a bit and pushed back a little bit, and I think things like these will become expected moving forward. So I'm interested to see how these platforms handle that, and how artists, we haven't seen the full development of this yet. Like this shit can change, and all sorts of crazy shit can happen. But I've really enjoyed watching people be creative on, especially on Twitch. I've learned a lot. Like, I'll browse like the music section on Twitch and just watch producers like make beats, and I've learned little techniques in Ableton that I never knew before, and just kind of like pick up on shit. And I like it more than YouTube, because it's like in the moment you can ask that motherfucker question like right then and there and be like, yo, what the fuck did you just do? And if they're like paying attention, they'll be like, oh yeah, I sidechained, this, did that, and did, and you're like, whoa, I never thought of that. Crazy. Instead of like jumping in the comment section on a YouTube video and waiting for a month for this motherfucker to hit you back or something like that. I like it. It's kind of like free little master classes sometimes, which is valuable. But then again, we got to be careful with what we give away. But this is also a subscription-based platform for some people. I've been lucky enough, once again, Sarah fucking dope. She got us partnered with Twitch, so we've been able to do subscriptions to the Twitch channel, which is why we're able to give away stuff like these headphones. Wink, wink, wink. We're about to close that down. Colin, why don't you put a 5-minute thing on the headphone giveaway? If you guys would like to win a pair of headphones, you got 5 minutes to subscribe, and then enter !raffle to maybe fuck around and win some headphones. But yeah, like, we bring a little bit of money in off of Twitch, and it definitely inspires me to want to keep doing it. Right. And it's part of that pivot that we were talking about. Like, what used to make me money isn't making me money anymore. But I'm not not making money. It's just things kind of changed a little bit. And I'm taking some artistic leaps that I haven't done. Like, I'm working on a record right now that's just all instrumental. Okay. And I'm just like, well, fuck it, I could do this. Like, yo, shout outs to AC Smith for gifting out 2 tier 1 subscriptions, and you had to give one to our guy Nick the manager right here. You are now subscribed to the Greaves channel, and James Garden. I got the squad here. Yeah, so like, I probably wouldn't have thought about doing that, but it's like, my mind's been kind of fucked up. I haven't really been like writing lyrics, and I've just been in this like, this is gonna sound super hippie, but I make music for a living, so y'all kiss my fucking ass with what I'm about to say. I think everybody's body has a natural tempo, and I don't think that it's a tempo that we have for our whole lives. I think that the tempo of our body changes due to where we are in our lives, kind of what we're going through, and how young and how old we are. And my tempo right now is really slow, and I don't make that lyrically. I've tried, and it's just not working out. And everything that I make lyrically, I'm like, I fucking hate this. But I really like the music. Why is there this disconnect? Like, why can I not say anything over this, but yet I appreciate the ambiance of everything else? And so then I just mute the vocal track, and I'm like, I like this so much more. And not like, oh, I made a fucking dope ass beat, but it, you know, for me, I gotta find somebody else to rap on it. It's just like, I think this is good as it is. And then it's like, I don't have to worry about structuring it as a rap song. I can just like, some of these are just like 1 minute and 20 seconds long, and it's done. And it's all you needed from it. But there's a bunch of little things like that, you know? So it's like, you know, that's my natural tempo is in that kind of steady beats zone right now. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, it sounds dope, man. So I want to ask you, as like a fan and you being an artist, you know, do you feel like with the lockdown and not being able to go do stuff, do you feel like that affects your writing process because you don't have, like, I guess, recent life events besides, you know, the family stuff? Like, you're not going out and doing things. Do you feel like that affects what you have to write about?
Yeah, like, is like my tank empty or something like that?
I mean, kind of, yeah. Like, you have to live life to be able to write about it, right?
That's true. Yeah. Well, right before this happened, I was starting to take this like really positive turn, like as far as the music I was writing, and I was getting good at it because poorly written happy songs are fucking corny, and I hate them. Same thing with sad songs, you know, like poorly written sad songs are fucking corny, but I've just like, I don't know. I like a sad song more than I like a happy song. That's my natural key, I believe, is, you know, like I'm a minor key fella, not a major key fella. And, you know, I was finding ways to get there, and I was really liking it. And then I kind of got sad again. You know, I had a major fucking life thing. We all did, you know, but like when Colin showed me that number, the tour got canceled. I went through some personal shit that was just like really fucking me up. And, you know, I lost 2 friends this year to cancer, and 1 to suicide. So 3 fucking friends this year. And it's just been fucking just a melee of bullshit for me this year. And I couldn't. You know, I couldn't write those songs anymore. Poorly written happy songs sounds like a perfect band name. So I just couldn't fucking do it anymore. And I tried, and I was like, oh, I'm writing those poorly written happy songs now. And then I started writing sad songs, and I was like, I'm honestly fucking sick of exploiting my sadness. It's to the point where it's almost expected of me. Like, look, my name is Greaves. I fucking get it. Like, I totally understand it. But like, you know, when I put out Running Wild, which is like a, you know, like a more upbeat record, people fucking were like, I miss your sad shit better. I liked your sad music. It's like, okay, so you liked me when I didn't like myself. You like me more when I don't like myself or my life or anything. Like you, and that's the problem with being an artist, I think. And I think why a lot of us turn to drugs and do crazy shit is because we aren't always appreciated for who we are. We are kind of encapsulated in what people need us to be. And I've found that a lot of people really need me to be making these sad songs. And I do believe that my tank is empty. For long trips in that department. We can still do a little weekender on some sad songs, you know. We could do a short little family trip on some sad songs. But ultimately writing sad songs just to write sad songs is not what I'm here for. And I didn't want to write songs about what's happening right now because a lot of people have already done that and they're fucking corny.
Right.
If I hear one more quarantine song from somebody, I'm slapping someone. Like, I fucking get it. Oh my God, are you quarantined too? Does it suck for you? Cool. It fucking sucks for all of us. It's like the same thing that people are, that's like, you know, rappers write songs about like how hard touring is or something. And it's like, oh, is it? I don't fucking know, because I work as a line cook. So I don't fucking know. Like, relatable music has to be relatable beyond those kind of like, oh, fucking really moments. And I think the best part is when you say something and you mean something from what you're saying. And I've experienced this a lot in my music. So I'll write something and this is how I'm feeling, right? But I write it in my way, because I'm never like, I like the taste of this beer, you know, like whatever, you know, like I'm never direct about it. It'll be like the bitter taste of hops, and the feel of metal in my hand or something like that, right?
Ooh,
so, and to me that's like drinking a beer, but somebody else that could be something completely different, because when they hear that, it's like this. To bring it towards what we do on Mondays, it's like when people drink wine and they go, oh, I taste, you know, stone fruit and black cherry. Those things aren't in the wine. There isn't black cherries in the wine. There isn't stone fruit. There aren't peaches in the wine. It's just the way that was made, resembles certain things chemically that remind you of those things very vaguely of when you have those things. So when you take a sip of that wine and you wait for, you know, like 2 seconds, and then you're like, it reminds me of a black cherry. It's not because they're squeezing fucking cherry juice in that fucking wine. I think it's the same with lyrics. If you can make a song that reminds somebody of a feeling, then you never have to be tethered to one feeling. And that allows the music to grow. That allows me to go on tour and for somebody to be like, hey, this song that you wrote about, you know, the taste of beer really reminds me of what it was like to, you know, of a summer that I spent in Indiana with my dad. And it was like a really good time. And you'd be like, whoa. And that's cool, because hearing those experiences changes everything. Like it makes it new again. Because let's not lie to ourselves. We don't make songs every day, and we don't memorize all of the songs that we do make in our lifetime. So when we go on tour, we play the same songs every fucking night. It's not like I got 20 different set lists and I play all this. I play these same songs in the same order every fucking night. Ooh, now, what I say in between those songs is different because I'm, you know, whatever. But like, it's fucking crazy. Like, it's the definition of crazy. I'm doing the same damn thing, repeating the same thing, expecting a different result every night. And it's crazy. So to do that and to have somebody redefine music that may be exhausting you at the moment just makes it so much better. And I think that's why I never try to write so specifically, because then it doesn't allow me to ever have new feelings about that song.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, because a lot of the imagery and just, you know, it's vague and detailed at the same time, and it allows different people to connect different feelings and memories to those words. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I love listening to you talk about music, because you are just such a true artist, you know, like you could see your passion come out.
I love music.
I guess one thing I'm wondering right now, at this moment, are you happier than when you were on tour or, you know, doing all those shows? Because like you said, it is kind of insane to do the same stuff every day, get back on the road, do it again. Do you feel happier now or more at peace now because maybe the family or?
I'm hot and cold, man. To be honest, like to be real, like I'm hot and cold. That some days I really struggle with this, and the beginning part of quarantine was really hard for me because the world was on fire. And as we've seen a lot of people take to the internet in some really positive and creative ways, we've also seen some people take to the internet in some really negative, terrible ways. And it was. Like I had to shut down the internet for a little bit. Like I just couldn't be on it because it was like just taking little bits of poison every day because everybody else was. And it was really making me unhappy to see so much unhappiness all the goddamn time. And just, you know, the stress of like, I came home, I had no money. I didn't know what I was going to do. I also had a baby coming.
Yeah.
So I was really fucking worried. And a baby is not like we'll figure it out. Like, I know that, like, we will, and I will, but, like, that's not the fucking mind state that I have when it comes down to a baby is permanent, you know? Ideally, and hopefully, for the love of God, that is my son for the rest of my life, right? You know? That is a human being who I'm responsible for the rest of my life. And that's a big deal. And I just lost my job and all of my money. I'm going into quarantine with negative money. Lots of negative money. And so I was fucking bummed out when I got back. And it took me more than 2 weeks to be good. And I do think that affected my personal relationship with my partner because I was not here for her, you know? I was trapped in here and in the fucking internet, you know? Like, I was looking at everything all the time, and I wasn't looking at her or the good things that I have in my life. And it's not like I can, you know, go visit friends and family either. So shit was hard for a little bit. And I had to take some me time. You know, I had to figure it out. And so I am feeling better. And I do think I am, you know, leaps and bounds better than I was when this whole thing started. And I'm interested to see how this affects me moving forward, because it's not like when this is over, it's just like, whoo, shit, damn, let's fucking forget about that. Like, well, some valuable life things were learned during this time, and I think they need to be applicable to the rest of my life. And it's not like the world is going to change overnight either. So this is the world that we live in, and it will be even when things are normal again. Yeah. And that adjustment has to remain. And I was having a hard time being creative for a long time, just because I had a lot on my plate, trying to balance everything. And then the kid was born in September. So it was like I just didn't have time for music, and I had like made all these like kind of lo-fi beats, but then, you know, Colin's like, you really got to get cracking on like your record, and I was like, fuck, man, I just got no gas in the tank. Like I don't know what to do. And normally when I run out of gas, I start putting musicians in the studio, right? So I'll like go find somebody who I think is a genius, like Danny, like Mouse Powell's Danny. Yeah. Like, let's put that dude in a room with me for a week and see what we can get out of it, and, you know, put a little fucking gas in the tank again, because I've hit a wall with what I think that I can kind of wring out of myself right now. And the power and the beauty of a producer is being able to kind of ride in someone else's car for a little bit, you know? My shit is out of gas right now. Can you give me a ride? And let's see, you know, let me learn from that experience. And I haven't had that in, you know, over a year. So I've been trying to like inspire myself by platforms like this, like Twitch and stuff, where I can go and check different things out. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. I've been doing like kind of like exercises where it's like the first idea that comes to your head is normally a good idea. So just run with that idea. And a lot of times it's not great, but it kind of takes away the whole like fumbling over yourself for 4 hours trying to get something done and then walking away disappointed. If you can just like complete something, it feels good, and I'm trying to find like a balance between like completing shit and then also like, you know, it takes time for me. I've never been, you know, I'll watch like Ill Mind is like, I made 6 beats in fucking 2 hours yesterday, and it's like, fuck you. I can barely get my drum pattern down in 6 hours sometimes. Like, it's just it's different. So, and like when I do the musical live streams on here, it's 100% that exercise. Like, let's just try to finish something. Let's just kind of like musical vomit or like idea vomit some shit out and see what we could do. So, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, so that kind of stuff, that helps you to feel better, right? And that helps with your mental health. And are there other stuff? Do you exercise? Like, what other, do you meditate?
Fuck yeah, dog, look at me.
I see some gains though. I saw some like striations in the.
Oh, that's just from lifting the baby all day, dude. He's 16 pounds now, so I'm just. You should have a new playlist called "Lifting Heavy Ass Babies." That'll be me. I'll subscribe immediately.
But now, for what do you do besides the music? Like, what do you do to keep yourself positive besides staying away from the internet as much as you can?
I did have this conversation with my lady the other day, and it was actually like something that I haven't been doing that I do need to do more, and it's physical labor. I'm a homeowner, and you know, I bought a fucking fixer-upper, and I put a lot of work into it when I bought it. It made me really happy. Also, you know, we're like fully moved into this shit. We got fucking kid toys everywhere. I'm not really doing any work on the house. But, you know, my buddy's got a piece of property out on the Hood Canal that is like, you know, he's got like several acres on a fucking hillside on the water. And it's like constantly, you know, you can clean it all up, wake up the next morning and have to do it all over again. So it's like, you know, I should be going out there more, and like I should be reaching out to my friends that have these projects that just like aren't doing it because, you know, they're not getting any help right now. And I should just be like, yo, let's mask up and get it done, you know, like, but I haven't because I don't have a lot of time either. You know, my kid is still really young, and I gotta, you know, he's eating and sleeping all the time. So there's not a lot of time where I can just run away, and any spare time that I do have, like, I want to spend it with, you know, the lady. Because at the end of the day, it kind of feels like we got our ass whooped. Like, dude, I'm tired at 9 o'clock now. I sit down at 9 o'clock and pour myself a drink, and I'm like, fuck. Like, it's like 2 a.m. You've been partying all night or something like that. That's me at 9 o'clock now. I'm fucking torched at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, man. There's something to be said about manual labor, just doing things with your hands and your body. Especially when you're making progress towards something. So like if your buddies have a project, or like you said, you fixed up your house, like that shit feels good. I mean, you get kind of mindless, right? Like you have a task and you know you have to think about it to do it, but you kind of zone out and you just focus on that one thing, and nothing else really matters, and you're moving your body, you're doing stuff, and then at the end of the day you're exhausted, but you've accomplished something. You know, you made progress towards this project, and I think that helps so much with mental health and just being positive, because you're cutting out all the distractions, focusing on one thing, and you're making progress. And
you accomplished something.
Exactly.
Because sometimes just not getting anything done is like you can feel useless because you don't do anything. So an accomplishment doesn't have to be like employee of the month or whatever the fuck we like hold ourselves to. Like it can 100% be like, yeah, I went into the garage and like sanded some shit down and like built this shitty bookshelf, or like I patched up the holes in the drywall that I've been saying I've been gonna do for fucking 2 years. Like I've done shit like that. Like I've fixed this corner that got broken in the house that I just like piled a bunch of fucking mud on, and I was like, I'm gonna sand that later. And then fucking 2 years later, I'm like, I should probably sand that. It's like, you know, just fit, and I felt so good afterward. I was like, hell yeah, what else can I do around this fucking piece of shit house? It's like just accomplishing something is helpful. I love like when the orders come in and then I'll go to the merch spot and I'll fucking send all the merch shit out. I go to the fucking post office. I drop all that shit off. All the old ladies at the post office know me. Shout outs to my shorties at the post office. Like they all know like that. I love it. Like it's like a thing that I get to do. I love these streams. You know, I love where I get to like reach out and have a conversation like I would. Like there's no difference except for that it's like 6 o'clock right now opposed to, 3 a.m. post fucking closing out a show, and we don't have ribs right now. So it's like, it's a little different, but like, we're having the same conversation that we pretty much would have, if we're just sitting in that room together. So I do really appreciate these streams. They make me feel really good. If I have to be like, selfish about it, I really enjoy being able to like, my happy hour stream is like me just hanging out with my homie getting drunk for 2 hours. I like it. It's fun. It's a good fucking time. And it's also a way for me to connect with more people. So... And that's a new thing, like do something that you would do normally, but like make your fans a part of it and just let it be a thing. Like that was normally like a thing that I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have been like, yeah, let's chill every Monday and like make cocktails and just let anybody join that wants to. I would have never had that idea if I wouldn't have been like, so like, I need to do something. Like I need to do something.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the main things that's happened is that it's forced everyone to put more of themselves on the internet because that's the only option. You're not able to go do things in person, so everyone is putting out more of themselves, whether it be your live streams or for me content and live streams also, but just putting more of yourself out there. And I think what we're learning is that the more you put yourself out there, the more response you're going to get and the more love you're going to get from the people that follow you, because they follow you and they're a fan because of you, and they want to know more about your life. They want to see how you interact with your buddy when you're just getting drunk, like that's what they value. They want to see the real you, and we feel like we're getting more of that when you do these types of things.
Yeah, especially in a world where a lot of people try to decide who the real you is. Right. Like you got to look at things like Twitter and stuff. There's just like a firing range right now. Like it's crazy. Like it's crazy. And I like, I blame the orange man because of it, but like there's such a disconnect, and like so many people just try to decide who you are based on anything that they can find that matches the narrative of what they need you to be. And then it's kind of over for you. Like you don't, and not like this is a fucking blanket or anything for that. Like I have nothing to worry about in that department, but I'm just saying, like, if the times of the mystery of an artist being almost better, because I all the artists that I grew up with, I didn't know what the fuck they were doing at 3:30 on a Tuesday, like because none of that shit existed. And if I wanted to know anything about them, I had to buy a magazine and read about them because I didn't have fucking internet. So I couldn't read anybody else's bullshit opinion on them because I would have to buy like these people would pre-approve the fucking interview that they would get. That's why things like Rolling Stone were so coveted, because that was the look behind the veil on these people. And even then you only got what was traditionally allowed to give. And there was this mystery to these artists and the music, and you stopped applying who you felt they were as a human being or who you need them to be as a human being to their music, and you took the art for the art. And I'm not saying separate the artist and the art, because I don't believe in that statement. I'm just saying there was a mystery of who that person was that allowed you to kind of, like when you're writing the lyrics like I was talking about, to kind of have them be a part of your life in a different way.
Right.
I was talking about this yesterday with my niece. I like Russ's music. I fucking hate him as a human being. I think he is a douchebag. Like, I think he is a grade A, class 1 douchebag. And I wouldn't fucking know that if there wasn't fucking like Twitter for him to like post all his douchebaggy thoughts on, or like for fucking like I wouldn't know, and I would probably like his music so much more, and I still do like his music, but the dude's a motherfucker, and I just like I can't do it. So I do miss that. I do miss that, but I do think that there is also a way, you know, I've met, so, wait, who's Russ? He's just like one of the biggest hip hop artists in the world.
Yeah, he's.
But here's the thing. A lot of the artists that I've met are really great, interesting, funny fucking people. And don't get to be that way because their music has kind of painted a different picture. Right? Like, you got to think of all these dudes in these like hardcore metal bands, or even like your fucking very aggressive rappers and shit like that. Like you didn't really see them cracking jokes before. But if you toured with these people, like, it's like fucking like holding your gut the whole time. A lot of these people are completely different personality. Not everyone can be Redman. Unfortunately, because Redman is the epitome of being able to be funny and hard and like intimate and just all these different, like, he is the fucking best, and that's because he created that shit. You know, he's a fucking character and a real human being all in one. We didn't used to be that way, and now that we have these fucking cameras on our computers and these platforms to stream all this shit, we kind of get to show a little bit more of who we are as people, and they get to, I feel like as many people as it could turn off, it's going to turn on a shitload more people, because people will be like, I haven't heard this dude's music, but I caught him on a stream and he was like super fucking funny, or like, you know, like half the people here have might not know who you are, and they're like, yo, this dude was like super insightful and I'm really interested as to like what he's got going on, and I want to go check out his Patreon because I actually got some questions that I want to ask the dude, and I would encourage you to do so. And that opportunity wouldn't really be around if we weren't kind of out here showing ourselves as people.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, I totally see what you're saying. You know, we used to not know about the artists that we listened to and we looked up to, but that was just the way the world worked back then. And I think now it's difficult to be that mystique, you know, have that mystique be your thing, because you kind of get lost in it. Like, there's a sea of artists now. The cost of entry is so low. Everyone with a fucking MacBook and a pawn shop mic can go fucking record music and put it out. And so there's so much music out there that you kind of have to be prevalent. You have to be popping up on their Twitch feed and on their Instagram feed all the time to stay like, oh, Greaves, yeah, I like his music, I'm gonna go listen to him now, just because you see him on your feed all the time. Versus before, is like there was only a few artists that you really listen to, and it's like, oh, I know this guy, I got their CDs, you know.
And it could be 4 years. I did 4 years between Together Apart and Winter and the Wolves.
Wow.
3 years. Yeah, 3 years. That's crazy. And it was fine. You know, it was 2011 to the end of 2014. And that was fine. You cannot do that now. You go away for 4 years, you are gone.
Right.
You're gone. And it used to be like, that used to be fine. Like, come on. Like, Metallica didn't come out with records every year.
Yeah.
They didn't. Yeah. And when they're still touring fucking arenas, you know? Right. Because they built something at the time where you didn't have to be so prolific. That is the other part. It is exhausting to stay up with this new market. And just because there's so much music doesn't mean that it's good music. And I don't believe that every artist has an infinite amount of good music in them. I don't.
Right.
I don't think that we're all capable of hitting it out of the park all the time. Even Michael Jordan got old. It's just fucking happens. Like, it cannot always be a thing. Even people that have created such pivotal change, like Michael fucking Jordan, like, it just can't be for always. So it's exhausting to try to keep up with it. And then it's like, there's the new format. Like, look at Chris Webby's format, where he puts a song out like once a month. Or really, he piles it on to the end of the year and says every Wednesday. But like, he puts out an album's worth of songs a year, and then at the end of the year, puts out an album with all those songs on it, and then maybe some other ones, and nobody is mad at that. Actually, it's the preferred way to do it. And I've asked people on here multiple times, and I think that this would be a really good question to ask some of the people that you're fucking with, is like, would you rather have the music now, or would you rather wait and have it all in one lump sum? Like, do you want to open your Christmas presents now, like one each day leading up, or do you want to open them all on Christmas morning and just go nuts? And I'm a open them all on Christmas morning kind of guy, because I love the journey of a record. I love the consistency and just the kind of the journey that you go on in a record. And
you play it front to back. And
you haven't heard any of it before, and it just like the song arrangement and everything is this experience. And I like it. And I know that you still get it if you put them all on a record at the end. But I don't know. And it's been hard for me to kind of adapt to that. But I did it with my last EP, the Confessions of Mr. Nice Guy. And then I threw a couple on there after we released the singles, and not one person complained.
Yeah.
And I didn't see an effect in sales or anything like that. It maybe quite the opposite. Maybe I saw like a spike, because by the time the record had come out, and this is really interesting, by the time the record comes out, it's already got millions of plays.
Exactly.
Because the singles have already been out.
Yep.
And, like Man Down was already over 1 million by the time we put the record out. So first week numbers were different because that single, and that seems like a flaw that will eventually get fixed, but the record in the first week had all these plays, and I was like, whoa, shit, we're doing really well. And Colin's like, man, these songs have been out for like 2 months. Fuck you think, man? And I'm like, oh shit, I forgot, because it's not new again. You just take it from the digit. It still has the same ISRC codes or whatever, and so you just put it all in the same place, and now it's an album.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. And if you are playing the numbers game, which we all are as artists, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Starting your first week out with, and I know not everyone's going to get millions of fucking plays. I'm not trying to be like, it's starting, any help, 1,000 plays, right? Like if 1,000 is an accomplishment for you, and you've had these songs out for a month before your record drop, you are a lot closer to 1,000 in your first week than you would have been. So,
right.
And no one's gonna know. No one cares. The only people who care about numbers are artists and maybe promoters. When you could be like, hey, here's my Spotify. I know that when we look at artists and they're like, yo, this dude's pretty dope, he brings a lot of people in the room, and then you go to Spotify and it's like he's got like 2 monthly listeners and one song on there, and you're like, does he just like have a lot of homies, or like what's the deal?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, he goes to the college out here, and he's like kind of the cool guy, and you're like, fuck that guy. Put a musician in the room with me. So it is a numbers game. If there's any artists watching, it's definitely a numbers game. And I'm an old school dude, I think, when it comes down to, because when I started selling records, man, we were still fucking calling record stores trying to get end caps and shit. We were still physically distributing across the world. Wow. You know how much money it costs to fucking make a record when you didn't have digital store, when you could spend fucking $10.99 or whatever it costs to put your shit on TuneCore, and like then it's just everywhere for always, like across the universe. Like you got aliens on the moons of fucking Jupiter listening to your shit right now for fucking $2. Like it's it used to be like, all right, how many stores are going to take this record and how many cities across the United States? Let's say one city in every state, right? So that's 50 fucking cities. And then, so how many records to each one? 20? How many promotional copies are going out for you to toss around to fucking radio stations? How many physical records are you making just to distribute? And then you gotta pay money to ship these motherfuckers across the fucking world. And if you don't sell them, you gotta send them back. They gotta send them back. It's crazy. And now you just go, yeah, I got a new record out. Boop, blop, there it fucking is. And it did not used to be that way. So numbers were important because holy fucking shit, you were spending so much money to get it there. So if you were, you know, like we loved iTunes sales because iTunes sales kind of counterbalanced that by being like, look, all right, we had to replicate 15,000 physical CDs or whatever to distribute, but we also pre-sold, 2,500 copies on iTunes that have no physical aspect to them at all. And all of those, it was the flat rate of whatever it costs to upload. I mean, you're going to know more than I do. Whatever that rate is to upload your record 4 years on TuneCore. What was it, like $49 or some shit like that? Like, that cost me $49. Yeah. And if I made 15,000 records at $1 a piece, that's at least $15,000 before shipping.
Right.
And now I'm hoping each one of those records sell for $14.99, which I have to give 25% to my distributor, and then I have to split with my label.
Yeah. Man, that's so different. I mean, like, I knew about all this stuff in theory, but to hear you break it down, like the steps you had to go through and the investment you have to take just to be able to get your music out there, it is, and that's why I was saying the cost of entry is so low now. Aside from, you don't have to book studio time, you don't have to get physical distribution. You can get a computer, cheap mic, and DistroKid, TuneCore, any of those, and for almost nothing, put out your music everywhere instantly.
And you don't need an advance.
Exactly.
Which means you don't need to recoup anything.
Yep.
Because that's also back when you weren't really recording at home and you did have to fucking spend buku dollars to go to these big studios with mixing engineers and fucking mastering engineers. And, you're spending $30,000, $40,000 to get all that shit done. On a high end of things, on a high low end, there's people that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars doing that. Recording costs is a huge part of your advance money. But if you can just, and your advance money has to be recouped from your record sales. So not only do you have to recoup the fucking $15,000 that you just spent, distributing these fucking things, but you also have to pay back the $100,000 advance that you just took from the label before you see a single dollar.
Yeah.
Before you see one fucking dollar from that music, you have to recoup what you've taken.
Yeah, and that's why independent artists is such a new thing, because it's suddenly so possible. Like you can do all this stuff for almost free, put out your music, and then if you get a viral TikTok video, all of a sudden, everyone knows your song, or if it blows up on Spotify, SoundCloud, Audiomack, like any of these platforms, it costs you almost nothing. And then if you do get with the label and they want to give you an advance, that you can pretty much pocket if you can keep up what you were doing before with the low overhead recording, the digital distribution. So yeah, I mean, it's just it's a totally different world. And then going back to the release strategies with putting out lead singles, that's so common. And I think people do it intentionally because they like posting those first week numbers. that aren't really first week numbers, you know.
Oh,
And
I was just thinking this shit today, man. I saw. Now I like the guy, so I'm not talking shit. This is just an example. But Marlon Craft posted him #1 on iTunes charts or something like that, and like underneath him was like the greatest hits of Tupac, and it's like, okay, well, okay, let's check that in 20 minutes, like. Okay, your record just went live, so you're selling a lot of copies at once. Meaning that the next record that sells more copies than you in that time frame is the greatest hits of Tupac. So you aren't actually #1. You are just currently selling more within whatever time that algorithm happened, right? So you sold that more records than what was sitting on the top on the previous algorithm, which was the greatest hits of Tupac. And when we check tomorrow morning, you won't be up there. You aren't #1 on iTunes. You just slid in on, you got your little dick in there when the algorithm was wide open, and you're getting immediately booted out. And we are all responsible for doing it. We've all done it. We've all been like, thanks to you guys, I'm fucking #1 on the fucking chart. And then like by the time you're done making the post, you aren't even on that motherfucker anymore.
Right.
It's
so. I think it's important to show the other side, right? So from the fan side and the outside perspective, it seems a little not malicious, but you know, you're kind of tricking people a little bit. But from the artist side, it's like I'm only doing this to try and garner more support from my fans because people really only fuck with you when they see you doing well.
Yep.
So if you show these first week numbers, you show you hitting the charts, all of your like kind of half-assed fans become like, oh, he's finally making it. Now I can go hard for him, you know?
Yeah, I knew this motherfucker before anybody did. Now he's #1 on iTunes for 5 seconds. Yeah, I agree. And I've never been great at that. I don't enjoy doing it. I do understand the value of it. And, you know, the label always kind of did that for me. And no one ever thought anything of it. And, you know, there are some, and let's be fair, that's still an accomplishment, right? Like being #1 on iTunes for 5 minutes is still an accomplishment.
It's not nothing.
No, and even fucking being on iTunes is an accomplishment. Like, dude, when we tour and we go through these fucking podunk fucking places and you're like sitting at the hotel bar and the fucking Cletus behind the bar or whatever is like, what you guys do? We're bringing you through here. And you're like, oh, we make music. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. Are you guys on the iTunes? And you're like, yeah, we're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. He's like, I don't know what fucking Spotify is, but you're on iTunes. And you're like, yeah, man, I'm on iTunes. And then, you know, he goes back in the kitchen and gets the fucking kid back there working and be like, hey, Kyle, get the fuck in here. You ever heard of what's y'all pussy's name? What's y'all guys' name? And you're like, oh, it's Greaves. Yeah, you ever heard of Greaves? And the kid is like, yeah, I think so. He's just lying. Yeah, I fucking think so. Totally. He's like, damn, we need to take a picture of you motherfuckers. I can't believe these boys are on iTunes. Like, it blows people's mind that, like, they can, you telling me that I can go on my phone and put in your stupid name and then I can fucking have all the shit that you made on my phone? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, that's an accomplishment. That's great. I don't have that, you know?
Yeah.
So it is. And we have become so like, because I used to be like, bitch, go to the fucking store. You see me in the store. Go to your store. Go get out of your house, walk into that motherfucker, go to the G section in hip hop and file through that motherfucker till you see my name, stop, and pull the record out. That was a flex. I was like, yeah, because that was, you had to go through so much to get it there. And I don't think people realize that it's like, man, I clicked 3 buttons. 2 of them were to make the record, and 1 was to get the motherfucker on the internet. Yeah. So it's definitely a new landscape, man.
What was that like, though? So take us back. The first time you go to a record store and you're looking for your record.
Oh, man, I'm taking pictures. My mom, I think my dad went and like bought them all.
Yeah.
Like he went to the local record store in Colorado and just bought them all and was like, that's my son. You know, it's like when it's like if you ever been in the paper or something, like if you were like at school and your mom went and got all the papers from the newspaper stand or something and then cut the fucking article out and then mailed it to all of your relatives. Right. that was what my dad did at the record store for the fucking first time. Like, because it was a huge accomplishment, man. Like, the fact that stores would put value in the idea that they could sell that physical product. It was hard. And, you know, PR was a big thing back. You know, you needed a publicist because you needed your name to be known in all of those cities beyond the internet. Like, you needed end capping, you needed fucking pictures of yourself in that record store, and the label was very adamant about, when I put out Together Apart, I did not want a picture of me on it, because I'm a goofy looking fucking dude. I was like, look, this is like my first big record. Is like kind of my chance to like create my own image. I don't really want my stupid fucking face on the record. Like, I'd rather have it be, you know, colors and images that associate with the tones on the record, more than my stupid fucking face. And if you guys have ever seen my first record, I lost that battle, but kinda, you know, like, so I still had like, it was like this like watercolory like drawing of me, but it was very much like a photo that was drawn. So, and the reason why is they're like, dude, you have to have your image on the cover because people need to know what you look like, so that like you're selling you too.
Right.
Do you have to be on the stream on? Oh yeah. Hey, we didn't even do that. Shit, Colin, who won those headphones? I also realized that we have been doing the stream for fucking ever, and I got a baby to feed.
Well, first thing though, I gotta tell you that cover art worked, because when I first heard your song, it had that cover art and it connected perfectly. So I think that was a good choice.
Well, that's good, because I hated the fact that I had to put my face on it. I hated it, and it was like a big point of contention, and I really did not like it. And I do like that cover art, but I just like I hate that I had to do that. Kimber won the headphones after complaining about if we're ever going to announce the winner of the headphones. It's like you knew you were going to win. I feel like this shit is rigged. You know what, Colin? Just send the headphones to me, because you know, send them to Nick. Shit.
I can use them.
Yeah, hook my guy Nick up with those headphones. This shit is rigged. I want to recount the ballots. I don't believe that this was a fair raffle. That's funny. But yo, man, thank you for coming in and like talking with us. I honestly feel like we should probably schedule another conversation, because there's so much to talk about, and there's so we didn't even get into some of the stuff that I wanted to about like what you're doing and the guidance that you're giving, and we have started to touch on, you know, like with release dates and distribution and all that stuff, and you are such a well of knowledge with this stuff, and it's important for people to know, and it's important for people to have access to. And so I'm gonna go ahead and drop your link in here so that people can follow you here, and they can follow you on Patreon and Instagram and all these other places. But this is a deep, confusing industry, and I feel like a lot of the parts that are really confusing are on purpose to keep you from getting your money. And it is fucking really weird. Like, some of the hoops you got to jump through to get I remember when I first started getting my first like Harry Fox checks, and it was like 25 cents or something like that. And I would take those fuckers to the bank too, and I would cash them and be like, oh yeah. And I would always like hit on the old lady, like bank teller. She was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, what you doing later? You want to go on a date? You want to go on a date, old lady? She'd be like, no. First of all, I can see your balance, and it's about what you just deposited in here with this 25-cent ass check. But it's so hard to find and collect all those things and get them all in one place and make it so it starts making sense. You know, performance rights agencies and all that stuff is complicated business, and you know, mechanical royalties versus publishing and all this other shit is crazy, and there is chances are, like all the scam emails that you get, but just the fact of the matter is chances are there's some money floating around out there with your name on it if you're an artist, that you just don't really know how to get. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people trying to take advantage of that idea, and trying to get you to sign up for services that take a percentage of that money and all of the money that you were collecting before, to the point where you probably should have just left that money where it was, because it's not balancing out, especially at a certain level. So, you know, I think if anyone listening is interested in those things, you should definitely follow that link, subscribe to Nick's Patreon, or follow him on any of the social media sites that you're going to find, and just, you know, start doing the work for yourself and figuring it out, because not everybody needs a manager either. Like, this stuff is doable, but it can be a lot. Especially, you know, I'm starting to learn that now. Like Colin's like showing me the ropes with all this stuff, and it can be a lot, especially if your job is to just make music all the time. You are definitely gonna have to take some breaks and open some Excel sheets and get busy, my G, because we are accounting for mass amounts of small monies. Just large quantities of very minute amounts of money, and it is fucking crazy. But so make sure you follow those links. My guy, thanks for coming on. You picked a song for the playlist that we have every week, and so we're gonna post a link to it. But what song is that?
It's Hippie. It should be Hippie by Oren Major, my artist.
Cool. Fuck yeah. I fucks with Oren, and that's new, right?
Yes.
I've seen him running some crazy fucking campaign. He's been very active on the social medias lately, so that's good. So check out Hippie by Oren Major, and also you have a playlist of your own that is nothing to bat an eye at.
Lifting heavy ass weights. So you made a joke earlier, lifting heavy ass babies. It's called Lifting Heavy Ass Weights because it's my college gym playlist, and it just happened to get 42,000 followers.
What a blessing. That's so amazing.
That's the only reason I'm here, man. Honestly. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back and talk more about like artist stuff. It was just great catching up with you. But if you guys do want to follow me, Nick the Manager on Instagram, don't have to follow my Patreon, but I post a lot of content and information just for artists, and I always answer questions, and I'm just trying to help people learn what I wish I knew when we came up. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, man.
Fuck yeah, man. Everybody, we'll catch you on Monday. Oh shit, I said I was gonna post the recipe. You guys are probably used to me not doing that by now. I'm gonna get a recipe to you. I'm gonna figure that shit out, and I'll get a recipe posted for Monday's cocktail, and we will see you Monday, 5 o'clock, happy hour. Nick, good to have you. Everybody that tuned in, good to have you. Kimber, enjoy your fucking headphones, even if you had to lie, cheat, and steal to get them. Why fucking?
She did what she had to do.
I know you, as I could see it. Yeah, we'll check you out next week, y'all. Peace.